Zakiel ben Yisrael, and tonight's topic is the crucifixion and the resurrection. And before I go any further, I'm going to introduce my guest.
I'm Elder Shadaniah ben Yisrael.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom.
I'm Elder Aaron ben Israel. Shalom.
Shalom, Elder.
Shalom.
Shalom. My name is Obiyahu ben Yehud Israel. Shalom.
Shalom. And before we go any further, we just want to explain a little bit about the show. The crucifixion was a very important part, an integral part regarding this striving for salvation,
Okay.
as well as the resurrection. So basically, they go hand in hand, because what they're doing is they're defining the key points of this thing that you're trying to obtain,
Okay.
and how we must observe the Messiah in what he did, so that it would benefit us as a congregation of people that's on the same agenda. The Messiah being crucified, as in the first segment, it was broken down how this was predicted, or it was already laid out in the law, in Exodus, about the sacrificing of the lamb, and how Israel had to sacrifice the lamb as a congregation. And we talked a lot in the last segment, about the crucifixion,
Okay.
because the crucifixion basically is Passover,
Okay.
and that's what was shown in the first segment. So now, I don't know how this show will flow, but we're going to talk a little bit. I know about the resurrection.
Correct.
So I don't know who wants to start.
Well, I'll start off. Okay, speaking of the crucifixion and the resurrection, you know, we just had the movie, The Passion of Christ. And in the production of this movie, we all know that Mel Gibson produced and wrote it. Well, he produced it, and he financed the movie. But in all it's doing, there were some controversy concerning who crucified the Messiah. And he didn't want to offend the Jewish people by saying that they crucified the Messiah.
Right.
And I even heard a few preachers on TV saying, one preacher said that everybody crucified him because we was born in sin. But what I want to do now is show the viewing audience who crucified the Messiah and how. Well, who crucified him, period. Okay, go with me to Matthew 27. I'm just going to read a few verses in Matthew 27, verse 20. And it reads, "But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy Yahushua." 21. The governor answered and said unto them, "Which of the two will ye that I release unto you?" They, Israel, said Barabbas. Pilate said unto them, "What shall I do with Yahushua, which is called the Messiah?" They all said unto him, "Let him be crucified." And the governor said, "Why? What evil had he done?" But they cried out the more, saying, "Let him be crucified." When Pilate said that he could prevail nothing, but that rather atonement was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, "I am innocent of the blood of the just person. See ye to it." Then answered all the people and said, "His blood be on us and our children." Then released he Barabbas unto them, and when he had scored Yahushua, he delivered him to be crucified. Now, we see here it was the children of Israel that said, let us crucify the Messiah and give us Barabbas and crucify the Messiah. Now, I want to go to Deuteronomy and confirm how the Messiah was to die real quick. This is Exodus 12.
You say Deuteronomy or Exodus?
I'm sorry. Exodus.
Okay.
Exodus 12.
Yeah, Exodus 12. Yeah, there was a lot of controversy concerning who killed the Messiah. And there was confusion in the movie because he never really made it plain who killed the Messiah. Let's look at...
Well, the Jews didn't kill the Messiah.
Oh, in absolute. That's right.
So we don't want to start confusing the viewing audience.
Right.
The
Because-
Israelites, they turned him over to
Right.
be.
Right, I'm going to read
killed.
this in Exodus.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
to be specific,
Right.
there were no Jews around to
Right.
kill the
That's
Messiah.
why I say the Israelites
Right.
turned him over.
Right.
Right. The children of Israel.
Right.
Right. Okay.
I mean, this show could go on a long time, and we had to just to explain who the
Right.
Jews are and
Right.
and what relation to the crucifixion.
But this is going to make it plain.
Right.
This is going to make it real plain. This is Exodus 12. I'm going to read verses 3 and verse 6. Verse 3 says, Speak ye unto the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to every man a lamb, according to the house of their father, a lamb for an house. Now, skip down to verse 6. And ye shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening.
That's it.
Now that confirms who killed the Messiah, who had him killed. The
Right.
children of Israel.
Right.
It wasn't Jews or sinners or whoever. This who it was. So I just wanted to bring that out for the viewing audience, those who saw the movie The Passion of Christ and yet confused after watching that movie. So I just wanted to just kick this show off with that and go from there.
Turn to Matthew, the 22nd chapter.
Matthew 11.
Yeah. Matthew 22. And we're going to start reading at the 23rd verse.
22, 23.
Yeah. It says, The same day came to him Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked him. Now, people understand, they've heard about the Pharisees and the Sadducees in the scripture. Well, the Sadducees, they didn't believe in the resurrection. Okay? Saying, Master, Moshe said, if a man dies having no children, his brother shall marry his wife and raise up seed unto his brother. Now there were with us 7 brethren, and the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issuance, left his wife unto his brother. Likewise the second also, and the third unto the 7th. And the last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the 7? For they all had her. Now, listen to this question, what they asked. Yehoshua answered and said unto them, Ye do err, not knowing the scripture, nor the power of Elohim. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of Elohim in heaven. But as touching the resurrection of the dead, have ye not read that which was spoken unto you by Elohim, saying, I am the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Yitzchak, and the Elohim of Yaakov. Elohim is not the El of the dead, but of the living. Huh?
Well, we're living.
Of the living. Huh? Turn to John, the 11th chapter. And we're going to start reading at the 17th verse. So when Yehoshua came, he found that he had already been in the tomb for 4 days. This is Yehoshua coming to where Lazarus was. Huh? And it said, Lazarus was already dead for 4 days. Now, Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles away, and many of the Israelites had joined the woman around Martha and Mary to confront them concerning their brother, to comfort them concerning their brother. Now Martha, as soon as she heard that Yehoshua was coming, went and met him, but Mary was sitting in the house. Now Martha said to Yehoshua, Master, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that wherever you ask of Elohim, Elohim will give you. Yehoshua said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. Huh? Now, notice that she knew about the resurrection. See, it's a lot of us today that don't understand the resurrection.
Okay, that's right, Elder.
But here's one who knew about the resurrection. She said, I know he will raise again in the last day. Yehoshua said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me, though he may be dead, he shall live. And whosoever lives and believeth in me shall never die. Do you believe this? Huh? I ask you this question. Do you believe this? Huh? He said he is the resurrection and the life. Huh? How do we know that? We know that eternal life was given to him to give to as many as he will.
That is correct.
We understand that. But there are a lot of people that, like I said, that really don't understand the resurrection. Or they talk about a rapture. Huh?
Rapture.
They talk about a rapture. Now, Elder has explained to us on various occasions, sure, there's a rapture, but not as they perceive it to be. Would you like to explain that to them, Elder? Because they don't understand. They're not going to be carried away nowhere.
Well, when we look at the word rapture, we know that the word rapture is nowhere found in the scripture.
No, it isn't.
But we do understand the principle
Right.
of the rapture.
Right.
And the principle or the essence of the rapture is going to take place.
That's right. That's
Because
the
basically
resurrection.
what the rapture is the resurrection.
Correct.
The only thing with the concept of the rapture is the additional things that they put in there or they add in there to explain what the rapture is. Like, for example, there's going to be a rapture, going to be a resurrection. Okay? But the church, or all those who are believers, who are alive and who are dead, are going to be taken out of the world before the tribulation comes. That's the part, or that's the worst part of this whole thing, or the worst part of this concept called the rapture, because no time, no one is going to be taken out of the world and not go through tribulation. Tribulation is here for a test. We're going to have to survive a test that Yah is going to give us before we are, quote unquote, worthy of. You see? So the rapture is not bad in the essence of what is going to happen in terms of it being a revival, but the other little things that are thrown in there with it are just misnomers. You know, they're falsehoods. And we understand what is called the tribulation. We understand that it's 7 years of time, and we have those who believe that there's going to be a pre-rapture or a pre-tribulation rapture, which is going to take place before the tribulation. And there are people who believe there's going to be a mid-tribulation rapture, which is going to take place at the midpoint. But I suggest to you, my suggestion is to go over that, because if you go over that properly and you're taught properly, you'll understand that the rapture you call, or the resurrection, is not going to take place until the end of this period of time called the tribulation.
My advice to you is prepare to go through, because
That's right.
that's what's written. Now go to Job, the 19th chapter. And Elder spoke a little bit about the sister that understood what the rapture, the resurrection was. Job understood what the resurrection was. We're going to read about what Job said about the resurrection. And it's talked about that Job is one of the oldest books in the Bible.
Is the oldest.
And Job understood exactly what the rapture was. The resurrection was.
Yeah.
Okay. Job 19:25.
Yeah.
19.
You know, when Job said, and I'm going to wait till my change comes,
Yeah.
that's what he was talking about.
Right.
Job 19:25. For I know that my Redeemer liveth, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. And though after my skin worms destroy this body, yet in my flesh shall I see Yah, whom I shall see for myself, and mine eyes shall behold, and not another, though my heart be consumed within me. But ye should say, why persecute we him, seeing the root of the matter is found in me? Be ye afraid of the sword, for wrath bringeth the punishments of the sword, that ye may know that there is a judgment.
That's it.
So Job knew specifically about the resurrection.
Correct.
That's heavy.
The resurrection.
That's right.
That's it.
That's very important.
Of course it is. And the resurrection was a sign that the Messiah had actually beaten death, the same way that one day we shall, if we are to be counted as participants in the first fruit, is the beating of death. Because there's been a lot of misnomers about you know, the transforming of the body, and the body you are supposed to receive, and things of that nature. But there's a process to even get to that point of receiving a body that seems we don't understand. that has to come. You can't put the one before you can't put the two before the one.
Right.
You have to put everything in its specific place. And with this resurrection, you have to understand that for you to be a participant, there has to be a renewing of you as we now speak. Meaning, you have to be in a certain mindset for you to one day be able to resurrect.
That's it.
So, I mean, resurrection is a big word. Bigger than I previously thought. Because this thing is, this is the final, this is the goal. This is salvation.
It is.
So, this is to be taken very seriously. Anybody else?
Turn to 1 Thessalonians, because they try to use this to say this is a rapture. But we're going to read this so that you understand this perfectly. 1 Thessalonians, the 4th chapter. We're going to start at verse 13. It says, "But I do not want you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning those who have fallen asleep, lest you sorrow as others who have no hope. For if we believe that Yehoshua died and rose again, even so Elohim will bring with him those who sleep in Yehoshua." It said, "For this we say to you by the word of Yahweh, that we who are alive and remain until the coming of the Master will by no means precede those who are asleep. For the Master himself will descend from heaven with a shout, and with the voice of an archangel, and with the trump of Elohim." I want to stop right there for a second. When it talks about the trump descending with a shout, when we read in Revelation about the 7th trump, the trump, we just not too long ago celebrated the Feast of Trumpets, the Feast of the Memorial of the Blowing of the Trumpet. That 7th trumpet sounds, that means that the Messiah is coming. He's here.
Exactly. Announcement.
With those angels. That's what it means. Huh? It says he will descend with a shout. And then it says, and the dead in Hamashiach will rise first. Then it said, we who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Master in the air. And here's where they mess up at. And thus we shall always be with the Master. Therefore comfort one another with these words. That don't mean that we going up in the air and stay there. That does not mean that.
What'd you say?
That sure we're going to always be with them. Why? Because we have made it.
Right.
If you make this, if you're in this, you made it. There is no second death for you.
Right.
You will be with him forever.
Right.
Why? Because you're coming back to earth.
Right. And that's exactly my question, Elder. It says here, when you were reading this, Elder,
Yeah.
you said over here, it says, for if we believe that Yehoshua died and rose again,
Right.
even so Yah will bring with him. Bring who? Bring those that are died in Yehoshua. Right? And
Correct.
bring them where? To earth.
Earth.
Right. So,
Correct.
right, exactly. Bring to earth. So when they meet him in midair, are those who are with him going to continue in a downward projection, or are they going to go back up?
No, they coming down.
They're coming down.
Right.
And we're going to be with him forever. Why? Because this is going to be the beginning of the what? Of the kingdom age. So we will be with him forever.
Correct.
We ain't going back up.
No. No. They never understood that.
Exactly.
Then it says, then it continues. It says, but concerning the time and the season, brethren, you have no need that I should write to you. For you yourself know perfectly that the day of Yahweh so comes as a thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, then suddenly destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman. And they shall not escape. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, so that the day should overtake you as a thief. You are all sons of light and sons of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. Therefore let us not sleep as others do, but let us watch and be sober. Huh?
Yeah. I have a good question right here, and let's see who can explain this. There is a part here in verse 15, 1 Thessalonians 4 and 15. There is a word in that verse that is such a key word. It is so key that what it does is it helps us put a time frame or put a face on when this resurrection is going to take place. We know, first of all, Elder, that you read earlier, that this resurrection is going to take place in the last day.
That's correct.
All right, now, we can narrow the last day down to what we call the end time or what we call the tribulation time. Okay,
Right.
all right, we could do that. Because just before the kingdom begins, the tribulation ends.
Right.
Now, it says here, for this we know and we say by the word of Yahweh that we who are alive and remain until the coming of Yahushua will be by no means or precede those who are asleep.
Right.
Okay. All right. One word here in that verse tells us or gives us a key indicator or gives us an indication as to when this event called the resurrection is going to take place.
Right.
What word there appears to be somewhat strange?
Remain.
What is it, Elder?
Remain.
Remain. You're absolutely correct. Remain. Ask yourself this, viewing audience. What does it refer, when he says remain, what is he talking about remain?
Right.
You see, it's not talking about those who are alive, because he just said alive. He already says alive. So we've covered the alive and we've covered the dead. But it says those who are alive and remain. Why does it say remain? And I know that many people have never asked themselves, what is that word, what is that referring to? Remain. That word remain is important. Remain. My suggestion is that the word here, remain, is reflective of those who survived the Holocaust that is going to come upon the whole world, especially Israel.
That's it.
Right.
In other words,
The Great Tribulation.
the great tribulation that is going to befall us, those who stand for Yahushua and live by his name,
Right.
and those that the quote-unquote they call the Antichrist is going to try to destroy us.
Right.
So those who remain, this this testing period that's going to fall upon all of us.
Right.
We're not going to be taken out of the world like people think the church is going to be taken out.
Right.
It's saying that, look, hey, church, hey, anyone who's a believer, you're going to have to go through this hell on earth. You're going to have to go through this hell of a time.
Right.
So those who what? Survive
Right.
this time
Right.
and who are alive are
Right.
going to be caught up.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So if you never asked yourself about that word remain there,
Right.
and it's easy for words to get by people.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of people out there never caught that word remain or were never suspicious of it anyway.
Right. Let's look at something real simple. Just to confirm what you just said, Lashana. This is Matthew 24, verse 29. And it reads, it says, immediately after the tribulation of those days
Yeah.
shall
the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven.
That's it.
So we see that the Messiah is coming after tribulation. So if we're going to meet the Messiah, those that's alive and remain, we're going to meet him what? When he coming.
That's right.
But he's not coming till when? After the tribulation.
of
Then we're
those
going to
days.
meet him where? In the clouds, in the sky.
That's it.
And then we're going to come down on earth to fight with him.
That's right.
But where at? In the clouds, in the sky. There are different places in the scriptures that explains that too. So after we meet him, what this Shaul means in the clouds in the sky. I like to clear that up as well, real quick. And go with me to Acts. Acts 1. So we see that the Messiah is coming after tribulation. So therefore, ain't no rapture pre-tribulation rapture.
No.
That's nonsense.
Exactly.
Look at Acts 1. I'm going to read 11 and 12. This is Acts 1:11. It says, which also said, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into the heavens? It says, this same Yahushua, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall come in like manner, as ye have seen him go into heaven. Then returned they unto Jerusalem from the mountain called Olive. So we see that this is the 40 days that the Messiah spent on earth after his resurrection, when he reappeared to the disciples. And he came and talked to them on the Mount of Olives. Now the angel said that he will return in like manner.
Yeah.
So he will return on the Mount of Olives. And if you go to Jerusalem, look at the top of the Mount of Olives, they are in the clouds.
Yeah.
So we will meet him in the air
Yeah.
on the Mount of Olives. Now to confirm this, let's go back to the book Zechariah. Let's look at Zechariah real quick. And let's go to chapter 14. And I'm going to read verses 4 and 5. It says, this is concerning the Messiah. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. And on the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half toward the south. Verse 5, and ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azel. Yeah, ye shall flee like as you flee from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Yehudah. It says, and Yahushua, the son of El, shall come, and all his saints with him.
Right.
So when the Messiah returned,
With
like
the
manner he
saints.
left from the Mount of Olives, he coming back on the Mount of Olives with his saints with him.
With him.
So you're not going to be raptured and be with him forever in heaven. You're going to remain with him on the earth
Right.
for what's called 1,000-year millennium.
Right.
So you're not going to be raptured up before tribulation, immediately after the tribulation.
Right.
That's when the Messiah returned.
All you saints.
Right,
Exactly.
the saints.
But see, you got to explain to the people,
Mhm.
well, who are these people coming back?
Okay,
Because you know, we've been talking a lot about who ain't going,
Right.
but we keep reading about stuff where people's coming back or
Okay.
individuals coming back.
It says the dead in Yahushua.
Shall rise.
Those that died in righteousness.
Right. But explain. See, this what a lot of people miss. When we talk about, when people deal with that doctrine about going to heaven, the way we're sitting around this table, people
Right.
actually think that they're going somewhere
Right.
whole.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like you got to understand that your essence or your spirit will be with Yah.
Okay.
Because all, the Bible says, all souls go back to Yah.
Right.
So, whatever beings that's coming back, it's not the full them like you see us sitting here around this table. It's the souls or it's the spirits of those who have passed on.
Okay.
And those will be in what's called the first resurrection. And
Okay.
to do this topic, really to do it justice, we should touch on the first resurrection.
Okay.
So there can be an understanding about the resurrection under life, resurrection under death.
Right. Okay. Well, then we go to Revelation 20.
I mean, not to confuse anyone,
No. Well,
but a lot of people don't understand that there is
To resurrection.
two resurrections.
Okay.
all right.
Very good.
Go to Daniel.
Well, I was going to go to 1 Corinthians first before you do that.
15.
Yeah. 1 Corinthians 15. I'm going to start at verse 29. It says, otherwise, what will they do who are baptized for the dead, if the dead do not raise at all? It says, why then are they baptized for the dead? And why do we stand in jeopardy every hour? I affirm by the boasting in you, which I have in Hamashiach Yehoshua, our master. I die daily. If in the manner of men I fight with beasts at Ephesus, what advantage is it to me if the dead do not raise? Let us eat, drink, for tomorrow we die. Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits. Awake to righteousness and do not sin. For some do not have the knowledge of Elohim. I speak this to your shame. But some will say, how are the dead raised? And with what body do they come? Foolish one. What you sow is not made alive unless it dies. And what you sow, you do not sow that body that shall be, but mere grain, perhaps wheat or some other grain. But Elohim gives it a body as he pleases, and to each seed its own body. Then it says, all flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of animals, another of fish, and another of birds. There are also celestial bodies and terrestrial bodies, but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. There is one glory of the sun, another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differs from another star in glory. Then it says, so also is the resurrection of the dead. The body is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. And so it is written, the first man, Adam, became a living being or a living soul. The last man became a life-giving spirit. However, the spiritual is not first, but the natural, and afterward the spiritual. The first man was of the earth, made of dust. The second man is the master from heaven. As was the man of dust, so also are those who are made of dust. And as is the heavenly man, so also are those who are heavenly. And as we have borne the image of the man of dust, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly man. That's what you was explaining a few minutes ago when you was talking about how the bodies or how the body will come. This is what it's talking about here. That what Obayahu was talking about when it said that same Yehoshua that left, he will return in like manner. That same body that he has, that's the body that we're going to have. That's why it said, we, just as we've borne the body of dust, the first man, Adam, we will bear what? The body of the second one, the spiritual. That's why what? The natural was first and then the spiritual. It talked about that which dies is not which that will be. That's what this whole thing is talking about. The change, the transformation.
So what kind of body is that, though? What kind of body is it going to be? So is it going to be a physical body?
Yeah. Because we know that when Yehoshua came back, he what? He ate. Although it's not flesh like that, but when they were up in the upper room, what happened? He came. With all the doors closed. He came, peace be unto you. And they could touch him.
So he had a physical body. So he had a physical body. But at the same time, he had a body that he could maybe perhaps penetrate through walls or walk through walls. So it was a physical body and perhaps flesh, but not flesh and blood.
That's what it says. There's different flesh.
Exactly. So it appears that he had a physical body, which was a flesh and bone body. Not flesh and blood. Because Shaul said flesh and blood shall what? Not
inherit the kingdom.
He didn't say flesh and bone, though. He said flesh and blood, and there's a difference. And then we have what we refer to what is called a spirit. Now, if we go over to Luke, the 24th chapter, we can confirm what we're talking about here. Beginning with verse 36. It says, Yehoshua appears to his disciples. Of course, we know that this is after he had what? Resurrected. Now, as they said these things, Yehoshua himself stood in the midst of them and said to them, peace be unto you. Like Yahweh was talking about in Acts where Yehoshua for 40 days revealed himself to the disciples and others as well. Apparently, Yehoshua had the ability, when we look at the upper room when he visited them, he had the ability to transform his body from
That's
one
right.
state of being to another.
Another. You're right.
And he had the capability of doing certain things. 37 says, but they were terrified. They were afraid because they knew he had died.
Yeah.
And they were frightened because they had seen him. So it says, but they were terrified and frightened and supposed that they had seen a spirit. So they thought they were looking at a spirit when he appeared to them.
Yeah.
They were, but they did see a spirit, but they didn't see a spirit. And he said to them, why are you troubled? And why do doubts arise in your hearts? Behold my hands. Behold my hands and my feet. That it is I myself, he says. He said, handle me. That means touch him.
Right.
Feel him. Handle me and see. That is not me. Hey, it's me. For a spirit does not have flesh and bones as you see I have. You didn't say flesh and blood because now we know that we talked about how in another program how the blood is the life of the body that we have now.
Right.
We're talking about a different life here because blood here is not required. Because blood here is not the life of his body because he's died already.
Right.
Yahushua here at this point has no use for blood.
Right.
Because that is not the life of the body.
Right.
Yah himself is the life of the body
Right.
or gives life to the body.
Right.
It says, flesh and bones as you see I have. So we see Yahushua at this point is resurrected, but yet he has a what? A physical body.
Right.
He's got flesh and he's got bones. And he has a special kind of flesh, yeah, but it's still flesh and it's still physical.
Right. He told you he was the resurrection and the life.
Exactly.
He told you that.
Exactly.
Go to Daniel.
Daniel.
Yeah, go to Daniel.
Yep.
Then I am.
Yes, sir. You on 12?
Yes, sir. Something in here.
Yeah, just. Yeah, Daniel, the 12th chapter. Because for the most part, I'm just trying to show how, because basically we emulate what the Messiah did regarding the resurrection, and we're to resurrect. And I just want to, just since we had talked a little bit about the rapture, the things that are to happen to the rest of the planet, I just want to touch a little bit on the resurrection of the life and death. So Daniel prophesied about it, Daniel 12:2. It said, many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, and some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. Okay? That is the resurrection of the life and death. Now go to Revelations. Now Revelations break it down with some clarity, a little deeper. Revelations 20, 20 and 4th verse. He said, and I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them, and I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua. Now those are the ones that's coming back that we read about in Thessalonians. These are the ones that's coming back that we're reading right here in Revelation. And for the word of Yahuwah, and who had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Hamashiach 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection.
Yeah.
Okay? So, technically, Yahushua was the first resurrection. or the beginning of the first resurrection.
Right.
Okay? And over a period of time, just like Elder was explaining to me one day how the first resurrection has already begun, and over a course of many eons is still in motion. Okay, and that's not hard to understand once you get a grip on what the resurrection represents.
Right.
It says 6, blessed and holy is he that have part in the first resurrection.
Yeah.
On such the second death have no power,
That's it.
but they shall be priests of Yahweh and of Hamashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. It said, when 1,000 years are ended, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the 4 quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. Okay, and they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed in the camp of the saints and about in beloved city, and fire came down from Yahweh out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstones, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. And I saw a great white throne. This is, the white throne judgment is also the resurrection unto death. And him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heavens fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before Yahweh, and the books were open. So this is that judgment that everybody thinks that the whole world has to go before this judgment. That's not true.
No.
So that's why I wanted to bring that out about the resurrection. This is the second resurrection.
Yeah.
This is the resurrection unto death, or the white throne judgment.
Yeah.
Okay? And another book was opened, which is the book of life, I guess, to tell the deeds in which one has done.
Right.
And the dead were judged out of those books, which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead that were in it, and death and Hades. So the people, the individuals that were in the sea, came up to be judged, as well as the ones in the graves.
Right.
The ones that didn't die in Hamashiach.
Right. And they were judged every man according to their works. And the death and Hades were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire.
Yep. That's it.
So that's the 2 resurrections. So our goal is to be like Hamashiach, which is to be a part of the first resurrection, or to be a part of the first fruit, which represents the first resurrection.
Correct.
Right.
That's
Okay.
right.
So anybody else? Got anything to add?
Well, when the Messiah returned, when he returned, he talks about 2 in the field, one was taken and 1 was left, and that seems to be a misunderstanding on what happened with one that was taken and the one that was left.
Right.
And if time permits, I like to share it with the viewing audience. This is in let's go to Luke 17. Yeah. Because at the coming of the Messiah, that's when he judged the saints, because everybody going to be judged. If you was found worthy to reign with him 1,000 years, that was your judgment.
That's it.
Because
Right.
you made it in.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Okay.
what I say. You in there.
Let's look at 17 and 34. It says, I tell you, in that night there shall be 2 men in one bed. The one shall be taken, and the other shall be left. 2 women shall be grinding together. The one shall be taken, and the other left. 2 men shall be in the field. The one shall be taken, and the other left. And they answered, and said unto him, Where, master? And he said unto them, Whatsoever the body is, there will the eagle be gathered together. Now, the church teaches that the one that was taken was saved, and the one that was left was left behind and didn't make it to the rapture.
Right.
But that's error. We see here, he says the one that was taken, it says right here, 37, and they answered and said unto him, Where, master? And he said unto them, Whatsoever the body is, that's the one that was taken because he was killed.
Right. The eagles.
Right.
Eat that.
The eagles ate the carcasses.
Yep.
And the one that was taken went with him. Because remember, he said he was going to return and we was going to meet him.
Right.
In
Those
the
who
air.
remain alive.
Right, right. Let's look at Revelation 19 and 17 real quick. This is concerning the one that was taken. Now, this is the one who remained asleep for 1,000 years and woke up at that white throne judgment. Revelation 19 and 17. And it reads, And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the birds that fly in the midst of heaven, Come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great Elohim, that ye may eat the flesh of kings and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of the mighty men, and the flesh of the horse, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of men both free and bond, small and great. This is what he's talking about. When the eagles be gathered, they're going to be gathered to eat that flesh.
Yeah.
This is exactly. So those that will be taken will be murdered or be killed by the Messiah. And those that's left will reign with him 1,000 years.
Yep.
And the world kind of had that twisted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you real quick, the best to understand that and verify what you just said over Yahoo, if you read the parable concerning the wheats and the tares,
Right.
it would explain exactly what you just brought up.
Wheat in the
The
tares.
tares go to the fire.
That's right.
Yep.
Gathered
They're
together.
gathered up and
Gathered
bound, and
Yep.
they're placed in the fire. The ones that are left go into
to the barn,
Go to the barn, and
which
the barn
symbolizes
represents
the
the kingdom.
That's
Exactly.
it.
And finally, the resurrection, believe it or not, is the last piece of the building block or last piece of the puzzle that brings in the kingdom.
Yes, it is.
Because the first beginning of it was when Yehoshua was here. When he said, when the kingdom comes, at first there is no observance of it because it is within you. And the last